Did you guys know that Canada is considering a cap on international students over housing crisis? Yes, guys, Canada is considering a first ever cap on international students as it tries to solve its housing affordability crisis. Canadian Housing Minister Sean Fraser floated the idea of capping how many students Canada lets in from abroad as a way to help tackle the country's inflated housing costs. His remarks come as Prime Minister Justin Trudeau faces growing criticism for failing to solve the housing crisis. Canada accepted a record number of international students in 2022, more than 800,000, a 75% increase from 5 years ago. Moreover, Canada has promised to welcome 1.5 million new immigrants by 2025, but questions are growing about how to accept newcomers at the pace if there is nowhere to house them. Experts say that limiting new arrivals will do little to address the problem. Just how bad is Canada's housing market? For many in Canada, the struggle to pay their mortgage or rent is persistent reality. The average home price in Canada was around 750,000 Canadian dollars as of August. That represents an increase of 360% from the year 2000, when the average was $163,000. The issue is especially acute in large cities like Toronto, where a six-figure annual income is needed to afford a house. Houses now typically sell for more than $1 million in Toronto and Vancouver. Canada needs to build 5.8 million new homes, including 2 million rental units, by 2030 to solve the problem, according to the country's National Housing Agency. Rent is also becoming more expensive in Canada's major cities. The average rent for a one-bedroom apartment in Toronto is $2,500, which is a 25% increase from last year. Most international students rely on their own funding, and with higher tuition fees they pay, it can be really big burden for them financially. Despite the housing challenges, there are many students still prefer to live in bigger cities like Toronto because it gives them many job opportunities. Many people believe and caution that there may be many adverse effects to reducing the number of international students in Canada. International students who pursue higher education in Canada tend to integrate well into the country by the time they graduate, making them a valuable asset to Canada's long-term economic growth. The Canadian government should prioritize them in any immigration program and not penalize them because of historic housing issues in their country. In a statement, Universities Canada, which represents dozens of universities across the country, said tying international students to the country's housing crisis is deeply concerning. The cap is strongly opposed by major universities. In a statement, the House, the National Association of Career Colleges, said regulated career colleges provide efficient, high-quality, industry-driven training for domestic and international students to produce the skilled workers Canada most desperately needs. That includes workers in the construction trades that helps build housing. That's what they said. Philip Landon, interim president and CEO at Universities Canada, also pushed back on the idea of cap, seeking to position major universities as part of the solution to the problem. The federal government's consideration of a cap of international students to ease the housing crunch is being met with the concern in provinces such as Nova Scotia. Advocates are against the move, saying the students help to drive enrollment, revenue, and culture at universities across the country. The Canadian Federation of Students, which aims to represent post-secondary students from coast to coast, says it's not happy with the idea. Do you guys support the idea of cap on international students? Let me know in the comments down below.